It was in October of 2016 when Paella headlines took over what was then called Twitter, all thanks to British chef Jamie Oliver, who had the audacity to include chorizo in Paella Gate. In Paella. Tweets read, "Hello, Jamie Oliver. This is not paella. This is terrorism. You'd be better off making nuggets out of your fingers."
Gosh,
Other
intense.
tweets, "Let's hope the knife slips when he's chopping coriander." From death threats to accusations of cultural appropriation, Oliver learned the hard way. Don't put chorizo in the national and beloved dish of Spain.
So, welcome to Made in Spain. My name's Laura Sina Garcia.
I'm Nalini Sharma, and surprise, surprise, today's episode is on
Paella. And it really has become almost a national representative dish of Spain in many ways. So
Okay.
we're going to dive deep into paella.
Let's start, Laura, with first the pronunciation of it, because I think even for myself, I have a lazy habit of pronouncing it incorrectly. Let's break it down phonetically.
So it's paella. However, most English speakers, I think, have a hard time because we pronounce all the vocals. So it's like paella.
Yes.
So sometimes they'll say paella
Yes.
because it's hard. The A and the E are both so open. Ae, paella, paella. Paella is the right way to say it. Paella.
So it's pa and then ella.
Ella, paella.
Yeah.
So if you think, you could say for her, paella.
Yes.
For her. And paella actually means the pan.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing. A lot of times people think paella is the dish. Paella is the actual pan. It's
Okay.
the name of the pan.
Now, why do you think that caused such controversy that he took Jamie Oliver? It just happened to have been him. It could have been any other chef, but he put Spanish sausage in a Spanish dish, and it literally kicked off a firestorm for months.
So we're going to dive a lot deeper into the origins of paella, different kinds of paella, because, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say that I don't know what it is about this particular dish, but it's almost like people identify with it very strongly.
Yes.
Because of the tradition, because it's something that in this part of Spain, because it's really more of a Valencian community
Yeah.
thing. Going from our episode on the fallas in Valencia, we're going to the dish that is probably the most representative of the Valencian community, which
Yeah.
is paella. It means a lot more than just food to people. So it's almost like, I don't know, tell me what one particular dish in Canada is that people are super kind of married to.
Oh my goodness, none.
Nobody's
gonna
well,
get-
Canada maybe is not a good example, but let's say, for example, a hamburger in the US or whatever
Or
it is.
listen, even the idea of French fries.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like for example, in Belgium, French fries is like it's a very respected topic, right? So we become very how would you say, protective of our traditions, and become also they become part of our identity.
Yes.
And for some reason, I don't know what it is. And if you go on social media, go on TikTok, go on Instagram, and you look for, paella, and there are arguments and trolling, and because it is this thing that people, will kind of throw a bunch of stuff in rice in a big pan and call it paella.
And it is not.
It's not.
It isn't. Okay, so let's start with the origins of it, because it is actually the ingredients. The typical ingredients in a Valencian paella would be...
Okay, so the typical ingredients in a Valencian paella, you're looking at the rice, obviously, which is special kind of rice.
Yeah.
The arroz bomba, or it's more of a short rice, you could
Yeah.
say. It doesn't look like basmati or any of the longer rices. And the typical original ingredients, the very original ones, were the rice, chicken, rabbit, the green beans, the flat green beans,
Right.
garrafones, which is these big kind of white looking beans.
Yes.
And in most cases, snails, like
Right.
tiny snails. And we'll talk a little bit more about why the snails. Now, that has evolved and changed a little bit, but the original is that. And sometimes duck. because, it is what was available in the area.
So imagine the origin of this dish. You have farmers in a field working, harvesting. The pan itself is what the name of the dish has evolved into.
Yes, and there's some of them are huge pans.
Huge pans. But now you have, let's say you have a farmer and you have workers. They sit around a fire and they would cook this meal based on what they had. It wasn't.
You bring this, I bring
exactly.
this. And let's kind of throw it all together.
And it has to be cooked over the open fire.
Yes,
So,
traditionally.
And also, you wouldn't serve it. You wouldn't plate it. You would just eat from the one pan. Everybody would just eat from the one pan with a spoon.
In a very respectful way.
Yeah.
Like, you're not kind of digging into
The other person.
Imagine the
Yeah.
paella is like a big pizza and you have like a mental
Yeah,
slice.
your section.
This is my section. Don't touch my section. So that kind of thing. And it also usually with a wooden spoon to make sure that you don't scratch the big pan.
Right.
So usually people would use a wooden spoon to cook it and also to eat it to preserve the pan.
Right. So now if you think about, you picture somebody on a farm, what ingredients would they have? Probably very simple ingredients. Chicken available, duck, like you said, rabbit for sure. And that is what would go into the traditional dish.
And not just like farmland, where the Valencian paella comes from is the albufera.
Yes.
So again, the ducks weren't being farmed, they were just being hunted.
Yes.
They're there. Same thing many times with the rabbits. We've got rabbits everywhere here.
They're just there. They're eating from the earth pretty much.
And same thing with the snails.
Yeah.
Now, snails, I will say, are more of the OG version of
Right.
the paella. It's not something like, let's put it this way. You got your kids these days and, you put snails in the paella and they're going to be like, oh, gross, I don't want that. So that kind of, the snails is usually like a very traditional, they do clean them before and everything else. But it is funny how, some people would never picture the snail. But again, you think about it, it's a protein, it's available. You're in you're in an agricultural land. So why
It's
not?
there.
Just throw it in.
Now, the story behind the rice is that rice was introduced through the Moors here in this part of Europe over 1,000 years ago. And they think that the original sort of variety of rice would be closer to maybe a longer grain rice, but the rice that eventually became cultivated here is the bomba rice, which
Yes.
is a short, fat rice grain.
Yeah,
It's the best
it
way.
is.
It's
It
the best
is.
way to describe it.
It is, and it's got a little bit more consistency to it.
Yes.
So I think also what's interesting about the rice part is it doesn't really make sense to grow rice here if you think about it, because rice usually requires a lot of water. And for the most part, these areas are very dry.
Not where it's grown though.
Exactly. So where it's grown, it's got like a marshland sort
Yes.
of, you could say, style of land. And the rice is able to be grown there. But you can imagine it's not something that you can grow all around Spain because it's just the amount of water it requires.
What I learned about that you have to use this particular rice, the bomba rice for paella, and it expands widthwise. So if you cook rice like a basmati rice or a long grain rice, it goes the other way when you cook it. But
so
the
funny.
bomba rice actually expands widthwise and is able to hold 3 times its volume in liquid.
In liquid.
So it expands, but it never really becomes, unless you leave it in the pan forever, but it never really becomes that sort of softer.
Right.
It's soft, it holds the liquid, but there's a little bit of
And that's why
like
paella,
give to it.
I think that's why paella as well is something you want to be having straight after it's cooked. Like it's not something you want to be having like 2 days after.
No, you're not using paella for meal prep.
No, absolutely not. I would not recommend it. And also, I did want to mention in terms of the origins of the Valencian paella, it was considered to be a low class food.
Right.
It's like kind of
Very
like in
simple.
many areas of Italy, pasta was not seen as something that was really fancy before. It's simple, cheap, like so it was perceived to be that way. So that's just something interesting to kind of think about there.
And I was just going to say that I wouldn't eat it for dinner anyway, but it is a lunchtime meal.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in the rules. So we actually have like some rules around paella. But Nalini, why don't you tell us a little bit about, from your kind of perspective, right, the rice dishes from around the world? Because I know we've got paella here in Spain, but
Well, I think what's really interesting is that people get really worked up about their cuisine, their culture, traditions, etc. But when you just look at the history of the world, you can probably name 5 or 6 different dishes. I mean, all of Asia is rice based.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to guess, but I don't think sort of Northern Europe is rice based. I feel it's more.
I think the only kind of really, I was trying to think, well, I was in Azerbaijan a few years ago,
And
and they had this dish that just blew my mind because it was, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is like pie inside a pie. And it was,
oh, interesting.
yeah, it was like saffron rice, inside
Oh,
a layer of like, what do you call it? Yeah, the thing you use to bake,
oh,
like
okay.
a,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty cool.
Well, you have obviously rice through Italy, rice
Yeah.
dishes. You have risotto.
Risotto.
You have Portuguese. Then you move to the Americas. You have jambalaya, and of course, all of South America has a variation on rice.
And I do think jambalaya's got a strong influence of paella in it. I mean, you can just
A
kind of
hundred
see it,
percent,
the Creole, right? That kind of part with the spice, etc. But cooked totally differently.
completely.
Yeah, I actually went to a cooking class in Houston. Was that they taught us how to make jambalaya, and I thought to myself, oh my, because you go in thinking is this going to be sort of similar to paella, but it is not. Like there's some concepts in it, and I think that's one of the reasons sometimes that when you order paella in the U.S. People kind of make it similar to jambalaya and say, oh, it's paella, because we threw chorizo in there, we threw like whatever is regarded as a Spanish ingredient.
People order it in the U.S.
Yes. I
What
I
do they?
have
I'm just like stuck on that. There are places you can.
Oh, yes. So, and this is
Wow, that's
really, I
interesting.
was actually invited out once. It's like, oh, you're Spanish. Let's order paella. I'm like, let's not order
No, of
paella
course.
in the US because this is not going to be good. But yes. So, yeah, actually,
I will say, I've had this happen a few times where people from, let's say Canada, friends, colleagues, you run into somebody, you're having a conversation, they find out where I live,
yeah.
and they say, "Oh, well, I was in Barcelona last year, and do you like paella?"
Yeah.
And for them, they didn't like it.
Yeah.
But what I've realized is that if you come from a culture where you have very heavily spiced food and you're
Oh, yeah.
used to that flavor profile,
It's not spicy at
it
all.
is not spicy.
It's actually got like zero spice in it.
But what I try to explain to people is that paella is an experiential
Yes.
dish. So it is, I think, more equally not just about the ingredients, but the fact is that you do not make this dish as one person.
No.
It is for a family.
And let's put it this way, if you're making paella just for yourself, good luck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that is a little bit
No, but
intense.
it's I think a tradition that will have been passed down from, whoever's making it in the family to the next generation, hopefully. And you would maybe have it on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon.
It's 100% like a Sunday lunchtime
Exactly.
family get together. You're feeding a bunch of people. Crazy fact, the largest paella that was ever made fed 110,000 people.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I think it's like the Guinness Book of Records. Imagine the size of the pan.
Yeah, that is actually crazy.
And then the other thing as well that's pretty cool about the paella itself is that the real paella, you don't going to see like, 3 fingers of rice.
No,
It's a
it's thin.
very thin layer of rice. So should we talk about the rules?
The rules, yeah.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So, rules of paella, like you said, cooked over fire, never rushed.
Right.
Like actual Valencian paella. I don't know if you can even make paella in an induction or I think it's got to be fire. And we'll talk about that in our slice of life as well. Never stirred as such once the broth goes in because
Right.
you want to get that crust that we call socarrat.
Yeah.
And some people even in my family, that's the only part of the paella they want.
Oh,
It's the
really?
one that's a little bit, the rice is almost gone
Crispy,
dark.
yeah.
It's gone crispy. And it's kind of cool. In Valencia, they actually have a place where they somehow have figured out how to turn that socarrat into almost like a crepe. And they
Oh.
take it and they use it like a sandwich.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's really cool. Only short grain rice, like you said,
Yeah.
like bomba or senia, and always served at lunch, never dinner.
Right.
So if you want to look like a tourist and you go to one of these restaurants and you sit there and you order a paella for dinner, you're going to look like a tourist, 100%.
Or
Because,
if it's sitting out on and you're having it at 8, 9 o'clock at night, maybe not a good idea.
and also Valencians will judge the paella on that fact alone.
Okay.
Meaning that, are you going to go to a restaurant that
Yeah.
serves paella at night? Like, I don't know about that. And that, then you start, with all the traditional piece as well. And then also because it is a dish that takes some time, it doesn't really connect for a lot of people to have it at dinner because it takes a long time to cook.
Right.
And it's a kind of heavier dish that you want some time to walk off and, do not just kind of go to bed after you have paella.
And I think the important part of it is just the fact that it is a tradition. It has not changed. The ingredients haven't changed. It hasn't been really modernized or fusion, we're going to add this or that. It is a set of principles that is followed. And you have a great time, sitting around, you share it as a family, even if you go out for a big lunch with friends, sometimes you're near the water, and it's really beautiful to be part of that tradition. And I'm saying again, as an outsider. So is it heavily spiced? No. But is it about the people that you're with, the tradition of the dish itself, the long lunch, the extra little bits, the Spanish wine, the sunshine? That is what, when I think of, the
really
dish,
about.
that is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing as well that I wanted to mention, Nalini, is that when we talk about paella valenciana and we just mentioned the ingredients, some people may go like, what? That's not the paella I've had.
No.
And again, not even here in Spain, people will tell you just because it's in a big pan and it's yellow and blah, 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 it's not paella.
No,
it's
because
just rice with things.
No, but there's also a dish where it's rice in the oven.
Right. So we've got a few different ones that I wanted to mention because it's very interesting. When I started doing the research, and we were kind of talking about, okay, what about this? What about that? I realized that a lot of these that I had taken for granted were all over the Valencian community. They're from like one town, one city.
Yes.
So the original Valencian, we already mentioned it, the flat greens. Oh, of course, we didn't mention some of the stuff that goes at the beginning, like the olive oil, tomato, saffron. But we'll talk about that in our slice of life. A lot of people don't use saffron. They use the food coloring,
right?
Because it gives it, a different flavor as well. And then you have the seafood paella. Now, seafood paella is usually more Alicante, Denia, Gandia, and that makes sense because guess what? There's more seafood available. It's, there are big ports there. There's access to seafood. That developed later, and there's no snails and no beans in that.
Right.
So that's like your monkfish, mussels, shrimp, prawns, no meat. That's the kind of the seafood paella. Paella de marisco is what it's called. This one, I would say I have I really like. It's the paella mixta. And this is usually something that is less common among locals, which is your combo of
meat and
like a surf and turf sort of thing. Which, again,
it's probably made for the tourists.
I don't know who came up with that, but for a lot of people, they will tell you, eso no es paella.
Yeah.
Like, that is not paella.
Can I mention fideuà?
Oh, yes.
Because it is a twist on paella. I read that it originated in Gandia.
Yes, it did.
Because the chef on a boat that had to feed the crew ran out of the rice. So it is actually, if you think of a paella without the rice, it is the short, little, thin noodles.
Yes.
Pasta noodles. So it is a version, but with pasta and only made with seafood.
But it's really good.
It's really good.
Most of the time, if you actually ask me, what would you prefer, like fideuà or paella, I would say fideuà.
Yeah, it's really
just very tasty.
And it's very particular to here.
So that one's from Gandia to the northern coast of Alicante.
Yes.
So you're talking very specific sections. The other one is the black rice. Have you ever seen that one?
I've seen it, but I don't want it.
Well, and some of you may have figured out, how do you get black rice? Well, a bunch of squid ink. So it's very fishy. Usually it has cuttlefish, and it's usually accompanied by alioli. And it's especially in Alicante.
Okay.
So again, it's so specific, right? And then finally, the arroz al horno, which you don't really call paella, but it's arroz al horno, oven baked rice.
Right.
That is more inland. like
Oh, okay.
alcoy, shatiba, and
Oh,
it's like chickpeas, pork ribs, black pudding,
okay.
tomatoes, potatoes in
So
the rice.
so completely different
Completely
ingredients.
different ingredients, but you don't even really call that paella.
Okay.
So that's kind of a bit of a breakdown. And even there's one, since we went to Elda for the shoe episode, near Elda, Elche, they
Yes.
have a very special rice that they make there that is called arroz con costra. And
Oh,
it's the oven baked, but with
okay.
a layer of egg at the top. And it has
Oh,
like chorizo. And so again, I
interesting.
can see why, in Jamie Oliver's defense, if he was just making a rice dish and a Spanish rice dish, hey, chorizo is in some of those, just not in Valencian paella.
Yeah, yeah, Firestorm. I don't think
Yeah.
he's ever lived it down, but he did double down on it when he was interviewed recently after the, incident. He said that it tastes better with
Yeah.
the chorizo.
You know,
So that's in his opinion, which I guess, it tastes just it's personal, but when you start taking a dish that has a tradition in a certain way and a story and a family, legacy to it,
I wonder how Italians feel about pizza. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure they don't
Like
want
Pizza Hut,
pineapple on
yeah.
pizza.
Or the
So,
deep pan one anyway, yes.
yeah.
So I have to say though, my favorite Jamie Oliver moment of all times. Do you remember when he made that documentary and he was taking all the kids to show them how the chicken nuggets were being made? And it is
Right.
pretty disgusting. Like
Oh, I never saw it. Yeah.
McDonald's chicken nuggets, it is horrible. They put this goop in it
Oh,
that
okay.
is like not even chicken. That's no one knows what it really is.
Right.
Anyway, so it's the grossest thing ever. Like they're grinding different bones of the chicken to put them in the, and the kids are watching all of this. And what he was trying to get at is
Oh,
eat healthy and
right.
different nutrition and try things. So at the end of the whole process, he turns around to the kids and he's like, "So, what are you gonna pick?" And he shows them like a healthy option and like this, chicken nuggets, and they all go chicken nuggets. Like even after watching all that, and I'm like, there you go, that's kids
That's
for
actually
you.
kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. Awesome. So, Nalini, why don't you tell us about a few key places to eat paella in Valencia? Any
Um,
recommendations for restaurants?
okay, we'll talk about our experience
Yeah.
for our traditional experience in our slice of life. But I would just say, at least for here where we are
Yes.
close to us, I love the restaurant El Crank.
Yes, that one's really good. You're right in front of the sea.
Yeah, and I mean, good luck getting a reservation if you want to eat, and they make fideuà there as well.
Yes, and the
So
fideuà is
so
fantastic.
good. You need to book ahead of time, like at least a month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one in Valencia that is a known institution. When you go there, you will see pictures from every famous person you can imagine, even Franco, like because it's been there for a few years. It's called Casa Carmela,
Okay.
and it's at the beachfront. I wouldn't say they make the best paella in the world, but it's one of these debates. I think you're going to speak to very few Spanish people that will admit that any other paella is better than their own mother or their own
It's
grandmother
true. It's
or their
true.
aunt, because paella is such a labor of love that when you eat it at a restaurant, it's never going to taste the same.
No.
It's never going to be, sometimes it's salty or it's too much oil or whatever because they're cooking fast. It's normal, right?
Right.
It's not like you're cooking for your family.
No. And you even said when we had paella in Valencia, you said, "Oh, I think my mom's is better."
Oh, yeah. And I
So that's actually
honestly,
what you
I
said.
meant it. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't mean it in a nasty way, but yes.
No, but you're also holding on when you say that, you're also holding on to your family tradition and the memories that you have of your mother making it
Yeah.
and
And my
sharing it together.
grandmother,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
and your grandmother.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, time for a slice of life.
Yeah.
Slice of life.
Yeah, cheers.
Paella.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Okay.
We got
So,
some Freixenet.
yeah, this is nice. It's a special edition apparently.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely beautiful.
Hmm.
So, let's talk about our experience into the rural Valencia.
Okay, listen, first of all, it was really magical.
It was.
So we did our mascletas, fallas the day before,
Mm-hmm.
had a nice breakfast, and then we dropped your husband to the airport. We were a
Yes.
bit early, but we had to go out to this. It is a rural area. It's on the outskirts of
it's still agricultural farmland.
Yeah.
Like when you're driving out there, there's like tomatoes being grown, artichokes.
You also see carriages being pulled by horses.
Yes, very beautiful
Very
horses.
beautiful. So you found this place that makes traditional Valencian paella,
It was recommended on Elle magazine,
right?
and it was amongst the top 3 paella places recommended in the whole of the Valencian community.
Okay,
And I'm like, ooh, that's interesting because all the other names I had seen before.
right,
But this name I hadn't seen. And it started with Barraca. Now, a
right.
barraca is like a hut
Yeah,
or
like a
wherever.
rural.
Yeah, it's basically like a barraca is somewhere that you could say you put all your farming tools in.
Right.
So it's not like a house.
No.
And it was this, and I want to get it right, and shout out to Mr. Tony, Barraca Tony Montoliu
Yes.
is what it's called.
We'll put the information on our
yes.
website as well.
Yeah.
But you called the Saturday afternoon because we were trying to find a place to have a traditional
Paella
Valencia. Yeah.
experience.
And
Because, like Nalini said, we think no one else is thinking of what we're thinking. They don't want to go where we want to go. So we show up at Fallas in Valencia thinking, oh, yeah, we'll just go to one of the top 3 places
yeah,
and
we'll
not
just-
have a
yeah.
reservation. But
I think
things work out for us. I don't know.
they do. And I do feel at times we believe that we can just waft around in life and arrive, which is not true at all.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. So we showed up. First we called and, I was like, hey, we really want to have this experience and we're from out of town and it was a 2-hour drive. Do you think you could fit us in? Yeah, we'll try and fit you in.
She called back. She was really good. She
She
called
did.
back. They gave us a reservation. Okay. So we get to the area and it is, again, a rural kind of, it's paved road. It's a paved road, but still it is quite rural. You're away from everything and we're following and we think, let's see what the place looks like. So there are signs that has, it says Tony on it.
Yeah.
So you kind of follow it. We see it from a distance and it really does look like a garden shed.
Yes.
From the outside, it looks like a garden shed.
At which point we're starting getting a bit worried
Yeah.
because that is where they have the press for it.
Yes.
But it's not the actual place.
No.
So,
And-
because we were early, we drove up there. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this place? Like,
No.
we're going to be literally eating on like plastic chairs.
Because that's what it looks like. There's some buckets outside, some farm equipment.
Yep.
And I think
I'm thinking,
Ayrton.
Elle magazine, do your research
No.
at that point. But,
Yeah.
it was like,
And-
okay.
No, he's in the back seat and he's Laura. What?
Where are we?
Where did you find this?
And he kept asking me, what's going to be in it? And I kept, making sure I didn't mention the snails. I'm like, okay, yeah,
But
till we get there.
Anyway, so we actually ended up crossing over the highway somehow. We found a
Yes.
way
And
to
that's
get
how we ended up in Alboraya.
Yes,
Where
and
they
we-
make the horchata.
and we actually went to a very famous place just by accident, but they were surfing there.
We were true Valencianos for like
Yes.
the weekend. So yes, they were surfing. It was absolutely beautiful. So let's describe a little bit about the experience at Tony's place.
Okay. Well, Laura drives a very large vehicle and Tony's track to get in. Thank goodness your husband didn't see it because I thought, oh my God.
I hope he doesn't listen to this episode. But the
He
car
would-
survived.
Yeah, he would not be happy with where we are right now. Anyway, you got the car in with the help of, let's see,
3 men?
Yeah, 3 men.
Which I didn't
directing
need
you.
the help
No,
of,
yeah,
but-
back in, back out, pull the car in, put it this way, park this way. Anyway, the car made it in without any scratches or damage.
Yes.
But it is it's kind of like a little collection of, would you say, it's like a finca.
It is. It's like basically it was a barraca. It was an initial hut that then expanded.
Right.
So this gentleman, I think the way this may have started is, very traditional, blah, 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 probably on Sundays.
Yeah.
And then it's expanded and expanded and expanded. I think when all in all, there must have been around 140 people there at least.
Yes, and they start showing up. So your reservation is, I think ours was 2 or
Yes.
2, whatever
I think
time.
everyone's supposed to show up around 2.
Right. And they let you in, you kind of maneuver your vehicle
Mm-hmm.
and you're parked in sort of this, dirt track area. They have donkeys, goats, chickens, all kinds of things.
A supposed museum that I will say, I'm not sure if I would categorize it as a museum, more like a shed with some very interesting stuff in it.
Right. So, yeah, it's like going to your grandpa's shed with just old stuff.
Yes.
So, upon entering this place, which is actually very magical. So, if you are picturing a quintessential afternoon in the Valencian countryside, eating a traditional paella, you literally have a wall of rice being cooked by
Yes.
the chef, all different pans bubbling at different times.
And I would say each one of those paellas would feed at least 50 people.
Well, at least. Okay,
Yeah.
super nice guy. But there's a man in the front sitting at this table and he has a gigantic pile of these beans. What are it's habas.
Habas.
Habas? Okay. So, do they use these in paella?
I don't know. Oh, I know what. They were making hummus with it.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, this poor man, he was shelling these beans, and we were there for maybe 3 hours. He shelled beans for 3 hours. And then when the pile finished, I said, oh my God, this man is in bean purgatory.
And Nalini was like, he's still there. He's still got more to go. And but it was almost like meditation watching it. You could see it's like boom, 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 boom. It's just like when people, I guess, are peeling potatoes or something like that. It's just something that you can do in high quantities, you could say.
And I said, whatever he did this past week, he's not going to do it again because he got put on bean patrol for the Sunday.
Tony doesn't take this the wrong way, but we noticed very quickly that although this is the Barraca of Tony wasn't doing a lot of work.
No, that was my son's observation, by the way. So it's a bit chaotic. You sit down, you get a drink, and then they give you, I don't know, what are those little things that we had? They're really good.
Well, they're called chochos. Sorry, that's what they're called. Okay, it's also how we call the female parts in Spanish, but that's what they're called, chochos. They're also called altramuces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chochos is easier to say.
Yeah, it is easier. Altramus is a very complicated word.
But they're just cooked little beans.
Yes, they are. I don't even know exactly what they are, but yeah.
But that's what they serve as a little snack.
With some beer.
Yeah, and you have a beer, a glass of wine, or what have you. You're in the sunshine. You're outside. You can smell the rice and all the, people taking pictures. And, people are dressed really nice for a Sunday lunch. Now, Tony comes out, rings a bell, and makes...
Like a cowbell.
Yeah, an announcement. So lunch now, you have to proceed. He does not take reservations on, the fork.
Well, and
it's a paper. He's the pen and paper kind of guy.
Pen and paper with a bunch of chicken scratches on it, which I couldn't even realize, like, okay, how is he actually being able to organize all these people? The other thing that's interesting, the only because there were a few people, and I overheard it on other tables. Okay. They were like, oh, can we order ours without the snails? And I was like, no. There's only one kind of paella. That's it.
No.
And I went to look on their website. They can only make modifications for groups of 50 plus.
No, he's let's just say he's very strict.
Yes.
He's very strict. You are going to eat what he makes, and you are not leaving until you eat all of it.
So picture this. They had brought out 6 starters, including a dish made with eels that when I looked into Nalini's eyes and she asked me, what kind of fish is this? And I said, eel. She was really about to freak out.
Yeah, I said, I'm not having
So
this.
6 starters, and then we get to the paella.
Okay, let's just talk about the size of the salad he puts out.
Yeah, for 3 people. It was a salad that could have fed like 6 people.
Easily.
And although we love food, we're not big eaters. So
no, not to that extent. No. And then they bring out they serve it. It's a lot of food.
And the paella is like a big dish of paella.
Yes, for each person.
Yes.
Okay. Then I said, now, Laura, we're parents, we're moms, we have to get back. We have things to do. We're 2 hours away from home.
Yes.
I said, listen, we got to get back. You got to pick up. You got to be home for...
My daughter, Valentina, yes.
Yes. And I told my son, I said, Pierre, just take the money. Can you go pay the bill? Ayrton goes into the kitchen. He gets shouted at by Tony himself.
Yes. By the man.
Yeah, you are not leaving until you have dessert.
Yeah.
So
at which point we can barely breathe from the amount of food we ate.
And it's probably maybe 4-ish now, and we need to be back by 5:30. And Ayrton comes back and says he won't let me pay, he won't take the money, and
Until we've had dessert.
until we have had dessert.
Because that's the other thing, it's a closed menu. So you don't
Yeah.
know what you're getting.
No.
You show up and they just start serving things. And
You
it's actually very inexpensive.
It's
'Cause
not no for not for the
drinks and all the food and everything for
Right.
3 people was 105 euros.
and a lot of food.
A lot of food.
Okay.
And very, very artisanal, like, you know, the salad, everything was from their farm.
They grow it, they
Yeah.
harvest it there. Now, Tony shows up to clear our plates. He's very put out that we
Did not want dessert.
we didn't want dessert and we need to leave early.
Yeah.
He brings the dessert and now he wants to know why we didn't finish all our food.
Yeah.
Did we not like it?
Yes.
And
we're like, but we can't eat anymore.
No, and also I mean, Laura is not a foreigner, but clearly my son and myself were.
You are it's truly, I think, and again, I'm kind of a foreigner sometimes because I'm half and half and all that, but we were the only non-Valencian people. Because the
No.
other thing as well, all the tables around us, they were speaking Valenciano, not
Yes,
Spanish.
and they were looking at us.
Yes.
So
Like, what are these people doing here in the middle of the farmland?
yeah, I mean, not in a bad way, but
No.
just more
Curious.
curious. Like, how did these 3 find this place in the middle of nowhere? You know,
Well, picture this. There were, because I guess we got the late reservations. We
Yeah.
were in a hut where there was no floor. The
Yeah, it
floor
was
was gravel. And there were
gravel.
cats coming in and out.
Yeah, begging for. So I ate the whole meal. Actually, we have a picture where my knees, my
Yeah.
legs up on the table. But anyway, Tony was very put out. We did not eat all of his rice.
Mhm.
And we said, listen, and Ayrton's like, oh, sorry, you know, he's telling him like we're really, really full. But Ayrton did make a comment halfway through the meal. He said, you know, he's like, I see Tony walking around and talking, but I don't see Tony cooking.
And we actually asked the gentleman that was cooking the paellas, how many paellas have you cooked? And he said, I don't even want to think about it. You
Like
know, my hair.
10,000 or
He
something
said, when I
ridiculous.
started working here, my hair was dark and now
Yeah.
it's gray. And every, part of my every gray hair is at least one paella I've cooked here
Yeah.
for 50 people.
But honestly, a fantastic experience. It's funny. It's fun. It doesn't matter if you're foreign or not. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
you
it
feel
was super cool.
Yeah, you don't feel not welcome. It's just
Oh, yeah.
we had to go. So we
It
kind
was
of
like eating at someone's house.
really, yeah.
So, Nalini, let's try our
Okay,
paella
all right.
that we have here today. If you want, I'll serve you.
Thank you.
So, because with the microphones and everything else,
Okay.
we are not going to eat directly from the pan, like we said, because that would be a bit messy.
Okay.
So, we will just eat from the plates.
Thank you.
And actually, this paella has a lemon to match my little outfit here in the middle. And it is very common to squeeze a little bit of lemon. Do you want some?
Yeah, it smells delicious, by the
There
way.
you go. Okay, we went for Valencian paella today, but without the rabbit.
Okay. I am outing Laura right now.
Okay.
She's Spanish, by the way. This isn't me.
No. So, okay, I am half English in my defense. And ever since I was a little kid, I have this really terrible habit of eating paella with ketchup. Please don't attack me, like for the paella lovers, Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how is this paella, Nalini?
Oh, it's really nice. Wow.
Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about what it was like for you going to my mom's house afterwards? Because I did mention to you, hey, I know Tony's pie is pretty good, but my mom's is better. And then she
Yep.
made one for us.
She did. And she actually said she learned to make it because the paella that you guys had at school
Was so bad.
was so bad. And your grandma used to make it. So then she took over the reins, I guess, learned from her mom and taught herself how to do it. But the scary part is actually lighting the fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. I mean, because the first ring has to go, then the second ring has to go. It's not just one ring of fire. There are actually stages of it. And to me, I was really afraid because you trying to light the gas and make it work. That took maybe 10-15 minutes to get it actually hot, the pan. And then the technique of doing it where she puts the chicken in first with the olive oil, she cooks that, and then it starts to move to the end of it. And then
Yes.
the other ingredients she starts to add. And then she said, once you add the rice and you put the caldo stock in, that's it. You don't turn it.
Yeah. So all in all, it was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was kind of start to finish. So that was a little bit of our paella experience. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode. Before moving to the sentence of the day, I do just want to thank Nalini for actually suggesting that we do an episode on paella, because it has brought about so many fun experiences to do this episode.
Yeah.
And it was really, really lovely.
Yeah, and it was really magical to be in your parents' house and watch your mom do that and be part of that family lunch.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go to the sentence of the day.
Okay.
So the sentence of the day today is me importa un pimiento. And it's because we have pimientos in the paella.
Okay, so your pepper is important.
Me importa un pimiento. Like, try to translate that. Definitely a pepper.
Okay, and you import the pepper?
No, like importa is like care.
Oh,
like,
you
I
care.
care is equivalent to a pepper.
Okay, so that's an insult.
It's like saying, if you tell me something and I'm kind of offended and I go, I don't care about that.
Right.
Me importa un pimiento. I care as much as a pepper.
That's actually kind of cute.
Me importa un pimiento.
I might start using that one.
So we got peppers in the paella today, so I thought that one would be appropriate. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on this journey, eating in barracas and, in my mom's kind of garden, cooking paella. It's been absolutely great. We're looking forward to the next episode where we're going to be touring the Alhambra in Granada.
Coming up next. So we're prepping for that. And we're going to share our experience with you.
Absolutely. So please remember to follow and subscribe. Don't miss an episode. We want to hear from you. Looking forward to the Alhambra episode.
Yeah. Bye for now.
Hasta luego.
The Made in Spain podcast is an Everything's Rosy production, with executive producers and host Nalini Sharma and Laura Senior, with special thanks to production assistant Ayrton Nath.